Hey friends, today I'm sharing with you some delicious crock-pot meals that we enjoyed, and I think that you and your family will as well. And some of these ingredients you may already have on hand. So the first one is a crock-pot chicken and gravy recipe. So you're going to need 2 pounds of chicken breast, and I like to season any meat that I'm using usually. And I'm using some, it's a rotisserie chicken seasoning McCormick makes, and I usually just like to season my chicken with that. So you can add garlic powder if you want. It's not necessary. I just like to season it up just a little bit more. I just felt like it needed to have some more seasoning. So for this you will need 1 can of cream of chicken soup, a half a teaspoon of black pepper, and a half a teaspoon of onion powder, a half a cup of water, and 2 packs of chicken gravy. That is it. So not much, many ingredients here, and I like to use the low sodium version if I can. I believe with the packs, it had like 1 ounces or something like that. These worked out fine, so I'm not, too worried about it not being exactly 1 ounce. And in a bowl, you want to add the cream of chicken soup, and then add in the water, add in the packs of chicken gravy, and then add the black pepper and onion powder. You're going to whisk this until it becomes, somewhat smooth consistency. It will have, because it's cream of chicken soup, it does have a few pieces of chicken in it, but just get it to somewhat of a smooth consistency, and you want to just make sure to incorporate all of the seasoning and everything in there. And then you will pour the mixture over the chicken, and you can either cook this on high for 3 to 4 hours or on low 6 to 7 hours, whichever you have time for. Once your chicken is completely cooked, then just take 2 forks and you want to just kind of shred it, and you can just do that in the crock pot. And I had a little more chicken than gravy, which was okay. Next time I will stick to the 2 pounds that it required, or next time use extra gravy. But this turned out really good. We really did enjoy it. You could serve it either over rice or mashed potatoes, and we decided to serve it over rice, and we really did enjoy it. So definitely a really, really delicious meal. And I just had some frozen veggies in some mixed vegetables in the freezer, so that's what we had with it. And if I would have had some, French bread or some garlic bread, that would have been really good with it as well, or even a salad. And this next one is a creamy crock-pot pork chop recipe. Really, really good. Very simple as well. Doesn't take a lot of ingredients, but you do need about 2 pounds of bone-in pork chops. And I find that, when you add the ones with the bones, they add a lot more flavor, but I'm sure you can use lean if you wanted to do that. And I did season both sides of the pork chops. If you've been with me long enough, you know that I do that with any kind of meat. I'm using the Eagle brand pet evaporated milk. I grew up with this one, so this is just one I like to use. And 2 teaspoons of better than bouillon, or 1 chicken bouillon cube. You do need 1 pack of the Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning, 4 tablespoons of cream cheese, and that's everything that you need for this recipe. And as I said, I like to season my meat, so I used garlic powder, I used the New Orleans Cajun seasoning, and some onion powder. Those are my go-tos a lot of times, when I want to season up meat, when I feel like a recipe just needs a little bit more to it, and usually it works out really well for me. So use whatever seasonings you like if you want to add a little bit more flavor to the meal. And I do find, that it did do that. So that's completely up to you, whatever type of seasonings you like. and you think will go well with this, go ahead and add those in. That's what I love about recipes. You can change things up. And then you add 1 can of the evaporated milk to a bowl, add 2 teaspoons of the chicken bouillon. And as I said, you can use the, bouillon cube if you have it. Just mix that up really well. And then you're going to add the Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning. Mix that up well. You just want to get all of that dry mix into it. And then you're just going to pour that over the pork chops. And then once the pork chops are completely done, then you will add the cream cheese. So that we will put on the side for now and put that in once the pork chops are completely cooked. But you're going to cover it and cook it for about 3 to 5 hours on low. And it didn't say anything about on high, so you would just have to judge it if you want to do it on high. I find low and slow is great for pork chops. They don't dry out and they taste a lot better, I find, when they're done in the crock pot. Now I'm going to take my cream cheese and I'm going to add some of the liquid that was in the pork chops, and I'm going to mix that in. I'm also going to I already took the pork chops out, so I'm going to also take the gristle that's in there out, and I'll show you that in a minute. But just mix it really, really well. And as you can see, I take a sieve and just kind of scoop out all of that, because it's like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like gristle, I guess, from the pork chops. And I just don't want that in the gravy. You can leave it if you want. It's just not, for me, it's not appetizing. So I just take it out. But I finally get that cream cheese all nice and creamy. When you mix it in with the hot liquid, it works great. Then add it into the gravy, and then this will, start to thicken up. You can add a cornstarch slurry to it, which I'm going to do, and I find that helps as well. So that will thicken it up with that cream cheese and everything, and it does make a good gravy. And I did just whisk this until it got to a smooth consistency, and that, everything was mixed in well. But I also put it on a high setting while I was doing that, and so that way it would thicken up. But then I turned it to a warm setting, put the pork chops back in, and I did try to put some of the gravy over the top of the pork chops. If I would have thought ahead of time, I would have just, put some in a bowl and then poured it over the top just to keep it, from drying out while it was sitting on the warm setting until we were ready to eat. But this, like I said, it worked out, doing it that way as well. But it's just a simple, easy meal and a very good comfort food. I just put some parsley over the top, and you can also have mashed potatoes with this if you want, rice, any kind of side dish, noodles, whatever you like. This night we just wanted the pork chop, and I had some mixed vegetables in the freezer, so I wanted to use those up. And it's just cauliflower, broccoli, and carrots, and that was good enough for us. Like I said, salads, bread, all of that type of thing would be great with this. Definitely a meal worth making, and I love doing pork chops in the crock pot. This last recipe is a crock pot baked ziti, and this one was really good. This one takes a little bit more ingredients, but this also makes a lot, so this is great for a potluck, or if you want leftovers, or if you have a big family, this one's a good one. But you need some penne pasta, and I like to use, it doesn't call for this, but I'm using it. It's the Jimmy Dean hot sausage, and I had a little bit left in my freezer, so I decided to go ahead and use it up. So I just browned it, and I wanted to add it to this. I like to have a little bit more of a heartiness, in meals like this, and we love the hot sausage. So it doesn't add a lot of spice, it just adds flavor. And the penne pasta, even though it's called ziti, it called for penne pasta. You need 2 jars of marinara sauce and about 25 ounces each. This is about 24 ounces, but that worked out fine. And then you'll also, and just use your favorite spaghetti sauce. I like the marinara. 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. It called for fresh basil, a 1/3 cup of fresh basil. I did not have that. I couldn't find it in my store. So I do have the, freeze-dried basil, and I like to use that when I can, when I can't get the fresh. So that's what I'm using. If you have fresh, go ahead and use it. And then as far as the cheese, you need some mozzarella cheese, about a cup. I tend to use more. Some ricotta cheese and Parmesan cheese. And you will need 2 cups grated. You can also grate it yourself if you want. For me, this is just convenience, so that's why I have that. And then you need 2 eggs. And that is everything that you're going to need, to make this. And as I said, really super easy. I also, since I'm using the meat, I may have to use this extra marinara sauce that I had in my pantry to compensate for, the meat being in it. I'm not sure yet, so we'll have to see. But this one, super easy. Just take your eggs and just, beat those up in a bowl. And then you're going to add your ricotta cheese. So you need 15 ounces of that. And you're just going to mix that in really, really well with the egg. And I love ricotta cheese in pasta dishes like this. I find they're always, it adds a lot of flavor. And then the basil, you would add either your 1/3 cup of fresh basil, or if you want to use, like I said, the freeze-dried or dried basil, mix it in and just kind of eyeball how much you want to add into it and mix it well. To a large bowl, you want to add the pasta sauces. And what I usually do is, to get the rest out, I put the cap on and just shake it a little bit. And then I let it sit on the counter and let it all, kind of drain back down, and put the rest of it in the bowl. I'm going to add the tomato sauce to it. And then I will just stir this to combine the two, just to get it mixed in well. And you would stop here if you're not going to add meat. This would be, you wouldn't have to worry about anything else. But I'm adding that hot sausage to it, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in and mix it really, really well. Kind of fold it in a little bit so it doesn't overflow and make a mess. But if you want, you can add ground beef to this. If you want to make it a little heartier, we just like to have meat in these. Now I sprayed my crock pot with some nonstick spray, and now you're going to use about 2 1/3 cups of sauce. So spread that out on the bottom of the crock pot, and I have to use just a little bit more sauce to make sure that my pasta cooks in this, to make sure there's enough liquid. You will not have to do that if you if you're not using meat. So for the pasta, it says to measure it out about 1/3 in thirds. So that way you're going to put 1/3 on the bottom, and then another 1/3, and then another 1/3 when you layer it. So it's good to kind of have, if you can measure it out ahead of time, just to make sure you have enough. Or you can eyeball it and kind of see, that you have enough on the bottom. And then layer half of the ricotta cheese mixture on this layer. So you just put that over the top of the pasta that you just put in, and kind of make sure when you do the pasta, that you push it into the sauce. That way it'll cook down, because it is going in uncooked. And then I just spread that ricotta cheese mixture over the top of that. It doesn't have to be neat or anything, just, you just want it spread out evenly. Then put 1 cup of the Parmesan cheese over that. As I said, it's a layered dish, so just do the best you can to, layer everything. And then on top of that, you put another 2 1/3 cups of pasta sauce, and then add another third of your pasta on top. Like I said, press it into the, sauce as much as you can because it needs to cook, while it's in here. I did add just a little bit more of the pasta sauce. As I said, I have to do that because of the meat and everything too that's in the sauce. Then I'm adding the rest of the ricotta cheese over this layer. And then add the last cup of Parmesan cheese over the ricotta cheese. Then add the rest of the pasta, and then you will pour the rest of the sauce over that. And as I said before, I had to add a little bit more of the sauce just to make sure, it was enough liquid for the uncooked pasta to cook. And then you're going to cover this and you will cook it on high for 2 to 3 hours. Mine only took about 2 hours or so, so you just kind of have to keep an eye on it. The last 15 minutes, then you add the mozzarella cheese on top, and I always add a little bit more, but that's me. Cheese is better with everything. So I cover it and let that cheese melt, and just keep an eye on it because it will not take long for the cheese to melt. And once it does, this is what it should look like. And I was so thankful because I was worried it was going to be too soupy with all the sauce, but it cooked perfectly. That pasta was nice and tender, really great comfort food, definitely one to make. Really, really enjoyed this one. And we just had it with some broccoli, but you can definitely serve it with, some garlic bread, salad, like I said before, and with some of the other meals as well. So just a simple, it has a little bit of layering and everything to it, but a really delicious meal. And well worth the extra time in making it. But I hope that this video gave you some meal ideas, some meal inspiration on some things you can make for your family. And we enjoy these, and I hope that your family will as well. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in seeing more like it, please click that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you here and become a part of my YouTube family. And don't forget to hit that notification bell as well, because that notifies you when I post new videos. I hope everyone has a very blessed day and a great week. God bless y'all.